you know, he just mentioned that our government has got in excess of 1.6, 1.8 billion rounds. And I said, well, how come they're trying to take our guns away when they're supplying Mexican cartels and the Muslim Brotherhood?
Oh my God.
That they're going to take it away from us. Well, folks, I want to talk to, can you hear me? Because I feel like I'm echoing. Okay. I wanted to talk to you about the resolution that we just passed on February 12th in League City to protect and defend the Second Amendment of our U.S. Constitution. Now, I have some of my fellow council members here. You've met Jerry Bentley.
Yeah, Jerry.
Jerry. And Todd Kinsey was my co-sponsor, Army veteran Todd Kinsey. And Andy Mann was also here, and I wanted to recognize that they were here today because this, and there's Dan Becker. Hey, Dan. Every single one of them stepped up to do something that has not yet been done at the local level. And that's probably the biggest criticism that we've had, is who are you to do this at the local level? And that's what I'm going to explain to you a little bit about today. But first, I want to talk to you about what is actually in that resolution. What makes it meaningful and what gives it some teeth. So in the first part of the resolution, I cite the 4 authorities that give us the right to do this at the city level. The first, as you can imagine, is the Second Amendment. The second that we quote is the 9th Amendment. Then we move on to my favorite, the 10th Amendment. And then, of course, we go to our Texas Constitution. And our Texas Constitution is unequivocal. It says every citizen shall have the right to keep and bear arms in the lawful defense of himself or the state. So whereas we, the citizens of League City, this is a very important issue to us. We have been known to have the highest number of CHLs per capita in the entire state of Texas. So considering how well-armed Texans are, that's got to say something.
Yeah.
So this is the section that is probably the most controversial, and you can read the resolution in totality on my website and also on leaguecity.com on their website. The section 2, and I'll read this to you, it says, all federal acts, laws, executive orders, agency orders, and rules or regulations of all kinds with the purpose, intent, or effect of confiscating any firearm, banning any firearm, limiting the size of a magazine for any firearm, imposing any limit on the ammunition that may be purchased for any firearm, taxing any firearm or ammunition therefore, or requiring the registration of any firearm or ammunition, infringes upon Texans' right to bear arms in direct violation of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. And therefore, any such law is not made in pursuance of the Constitution, is not authorized by the Constitution, and thus is not the supreme law of the land. And consequently is invalid in the state of Texas and shall be further considered null and void and of no effect in our city. We go on further to say that all agencies of the city of League City are instructed to refuse requests or directives by federal agencies acting under unconstitutional powers enumerated in the section I just read that would infringe upon our residents' 2nd, 9th, and 10th Amendment rights or other inalienable rights not here explicitly enumerated. Those actions give teeth to what some might consider a rather symbolic gesture. But folks, somebody's got to do it. If they're not going to do it at the national level, we've got to do it. All politics is local. So the main question I've been asked, and is this echoing? Okay. The main question that's been asked is why at the local level? Well, have you noticed that this topic is on everybody's tongues in every community? Yeah. Everybody's talking about it. It affects our schools. It affects our police departments. It affects our communities and our cities. This is not a topic where a bloated central government is going to pass down edicts to us, because we're living this every day. Specifically, in the wake of the tragedy in December, this is affecting our children. So you have elected representatives at every level of government, and who is the closest to you? Who can you reach out and touch and see in the grocery stores, see at the gas station, talk to at the PTA meetings? That is your local city council. We are your closest elected representatives. And what most people may not realize is that when we're sworn in as your closest elected official, we swear an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Now, that's really, really close to the oath that I swore in the U.S. Army and that our veterans swore when they chose to serve. Very, very close. And those oaths don't expire, do they? No. Oh, my veterans out there, has your oath ever expired? No. Indeed not. So when we're looking at your local elected officials and they swear such an oath, would you be confident in someone who had no intention of upholding it? No. So they swear such an oath. Hold them accountable. This is not an untouchable issue at your city level. This is affecting us every day. It's our right to take a stand at our city level. Our government was set up to be representative where the power resides in the people. Therefore, the closest representatives to them probably have the weightiest responsibility to respond to the concerns of the people. And this is one of your concerns, is it not? Yes. Yes. Okay, so the Second Amendment, I do believe we all agree that this is a right that is inalienable to us. We are born with it. It is not granted to us by a constitution, and it is not allowed to us by our government. Would you agree? Yes. So the thing that gives teeth to our Bill of Rights is the Second Amendment. It upholds all the rest. It's not about having a right to hunt or to shoot skeet or to compete in shooting competitions. This is about self-defense. Yes, self-defense from, am I on? Okay. Yes, it is about our self-defense from the criminal element on our streets. It's out. But more importantly, it's self-defense from the criminal element in our own government. The criminal element in our own government, they wish to be masters of a helpless people. And make no mistake, that's what this is about. This is about control. It's our civic duty to act, and anything less is an abdication of that sworn oath that I just discussed with you. And we have to act fast, because right now the entire debate and the conversation and the information and misinformation is being controlled by a complicit media that is advancing an agenda that we know where it goes. I'm going to quote Janet Reno here. Janet Reno said, "This is not about registration. Registration is only the first step, then confiscation, then prohibition." That's where we're going with these executive actions. In every state, in every community, more and more legislation is being filed, and it is snowballing quick. That's why we decided to act in League City. We're the ones that have to be proactive. We're the ones that have to take bold measures while we can still pick the time and the place and the extent of our own resistance. That is our choice and that is our right. If we wait until the feds overstep their bounds, then it's already too late. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah. Once they show up on your doorstep, it's going to be too late to take a stand. Our police will be forced to stand alone, and I've discussed this with our chief of police, and in League City we are so fortunate to have our first responders, many of them being veterans, And every single one of them is crystal clear on what is constitutional law and what is unconstitutional law. We are urging our government to follow the law. We are not advocating chaos and lawlessness. We are asking them to follow the law of the land, because it is our right. Should they step outside of the constrictions of the Constitution, it is our right to not comply. So folks, it doesn't cost us anything to take a stand today. It doesn't cost us anything yet. It does take a strength of will and purpose. In League City, as I said, this is our important issue. We have a high number of CHLs and gun owners in our city. This was something where we were not going to ignore the voice of the people. We were going to act on their behalf. I can tell you that we're not alone. Gonzales, Texas, of Come and Take It Glory, passed the exact same resolution last week. Tiki Island, right down the road, passed the exact same resolution. And it's going to go on the agendas of multiple cities across the state, from Friendswood and Deer Park and Webster, all the way over to Odessa. We have to start somewhere. This is a spark. This is where we take our stand and say, no more and no further. We stand here, and we have the strength of our convictions behind us. The simplicity and the strength of this resolution, and the two sections that give it the teeth, is that they really won't be needed until they're tested. And unless the government goes full tilt into oppression, they're words. There are principles on paper that we live and stand by. But once they do, if they were to go full tilt into oppression, then we've already got some bigger problems on our hands. So there is nothing to fear in upholding our Constitution ever. And to fear any retribution, from our federal government is to openly admit that we already live under a suppressive and tyrannical rule. So unless you're willing to admit that about Texas and America, then walk tall and take the actions of free men and women who refuse to be governed unjustly because we fear no tyrants.